Welcome to today's episode of the Roxom Report. Today is Monday, the 8th of September, 2025. I'm your host, Ione Butler. Right now, Bitcoin is trading at $110,000 at 161. And today, I'm joined by Anton from Xapo Bank. Anton serves as product manager at Xapo, where he spearheads initiatives to integrate cutting-edge Bitcoin technologies. Anton is advancing Xapo Bank's vision of blending digital asset innovation with traditional financial reliability. Anton, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well. Thanks for having me again. I'm excited for this discussion.
Me too, and my pleasure. One of the things that you've been a regular guest on our sister show, the Blockchain Report, and one of the topics that I thought was really interesting when I watched an interview with you was about Xapo offering loans against Bitcoin, which is fantastic because I think last time we discussed, it's good to put the Bitcoin to use when you have it. So would you mind sharing a little bit about that offering that Xapo has?
Sure. So let's start answering the question why actually Xapo Bank built this functionality. So for everyone watching this, Xapo Bank was established 2013. At some point, it was the largest Bitcoin custodian in the world, and we still have members that have been trusting their Bitcoins to Xapo since 2013, and those are long-term holders. Those are people who truly believe in Bitcoin. They keep their savings in Bitcoin and pretty much the entire wealth in Bitcoin. And those people, they know that Bitcoin on average is appreciating approximately 40% on an annual basis. And those are people very resilient they're very reluctant to sell Bitcoin, because what's the point to sell Bitcoin if you know that you can make on average 40% every year? And this was real customer demand for people to use fiat, to borrow fiat against their Bitcoin without the need to sell their Bitcoin. Because right now in today's world is still you cannot use your Bitcoin to pay everywhere. Like for example, if you want to buy a house or if you want to buy a car, the only way to do it is to sell your Bitcoin, get the fiat, and process the payment. And what Xapo right now is offering is the opportunity for people to not sell their Bitcoin but still have access to US dollars and do their everyday needs, or use the USD for some large purchases. But yes, we built this mainly because it was a customer demand from Bitcoin holders that were just explaining that they don't want to sell their Bitcoins, never, and the only way to use their Bitcoin was to take a loan. And that's why we built this functionality, and so far we see some crazy results. Our members really love this feature, and I believe we are the only financial institution offering this right now, or at least we were the first one.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned offering, giving the fiat loan in dollars. Do you give loans in other currencies, or is it just dollars? I guess it's pretty easy to convert if it needed to be, but.
Yeah, so right now you can borrow up to $1 million against your Bitcoins. You can withdraw GBP from Xapo Bank. You can withdraw other fiat currencies from Xapo Bank, but the only way to borrow is in US dollars. So you can borrow in US dollars, and then from Xapo Bank you can withdraw GBP through faster payments. It's going to be an instant withdrawal. So that's something which our members do, and it's working really good so far.
Very interesting. And so you mentioned the maximum, the loan amount is $1 million, which is, fantastic for most people if they're looking, for bigger purchases like a house or something like that. What is the kind of, obviously you would need to have considerably more Bitcoin than $1 million to borrow $1 million. What are sort of the parameters around? I mean, and I'm sure that maybe it fluctuates and changes to,
Yeah, so it really depends on the existing market conditions. Everyone can, we even have a calculator on our website. Everyone can go and check the terms that they will get. Of course, we're quite flexible right now. You can borrow up to $1 million, and then you can configure what's going to be the loan period. You can configure it to if you want a few months, few days, 1 year, up to you. And then based on this, the interest will be calculated, interest rate that you have to pay. And then it's super flexible when you're going to pay the interest. You can pay it daily, monthly, or you can just pay the interest at the end of the period. So this is we really wanted to build something flexible based on our members' needs, because like this feature is coming from the feedback we received from those long-term Bitcoin holders.
Fantastic. So yeah, go to the Xapo Bank website to check out that calculator if that's of interest. And does there need to be any sort of terms of, is this available for long-term customers, or could you be a new Xapo customer and sign up and take out a loan? How does that work?
So you have to own Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin has to be deposited to Xapo Bank. And what I really want to highlight here for everyone watching, we are not rehypothecating your Bitcoin. So like they're secure, they're under Xapo Bank custody. We're never like lending your Bitcoins. We're using them as a collateral. So in a very unlikely event, if the price drops below a certain level, which is clearly visualized in our app, and also is configurable, your Bitcoin may be liquidated. But it's very important also to make a second highlight here, is that you can always deposit more Bitcoin to Xapo Bank if you're approaching the margin call on the Bitcoin price. And right now, like for the average, let's say loan taker, I think the price for Bitcoin for your loan to be liquidated, it's something like $35,000, and we are at 120. So yeah, I mean, it's I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very unlikely, statistically speaking, of course. And again, you can always deposit more Bitcoin if you want, or you can just decrease the amount of loan, and this will immediately decrease the price of your margin call.
Got it. Yeah, I'm really fascinated by this. It's like you say, people want to hold the store of value. You know that you've got something that is appreciating at such a substantial rate, but then you also want to be able to, capitalize on the profits that you've made. It just seems like a really nice option to give people to have, especially when it can be so difficult getting traditional loans. Like a lot of banks won't even consider what you have in Bitcoin as capital. So really fantastic offering. It's great that you're listening to members. Are there other things that are being launched or in the works?
Recently, we launched USDT deposits via the TRON network. So far, we have some extremely positive results, like over 50% of the deposits through USDT are processed on the TRON network. Usually, they are faster, in some cases cheaper than the other blockchain networks that we supported. And that's like something which I'm hyped and excited to share. Of course, we have new products which I cannot reveal right now because they're still like under development. But I promise once we are ready, we are going to announce this.
Come back on the show and tell us.
Yes, you're going to be the first one learning about the new features. But yeah, they're like very, very Bitcoin focused, very Bitcoin native features, because at the end, like, it's all about the Bitcoin adoption. And back to the previous point about the loans, we really want to build products for Bitcoin holders that are planning to keep their Bitcoins forever.
Yeah. We have another guest on the show coming up after we finish speaking with you, Tony from the Bitcoin Way. And it would have been great if we could have you on the show together, but just the way that the show works, we haven't started like doing group discussions like this. He's very much a proponent and an advocate for self-custody. We'll get into his story when I speak to him, but he's from Lebanon, and the banking crisis there lost a lot of his wealth, and so is very much a proponent for self-custody. And I wanted to get your take on this because there's a lot of people, and I think we may have touched on it last time we spoke last month, but a lot of people are very much all about self-custody. I personally don't trust myself. Like I can understand why somebody would be such a proponent for self-custody after having all their money seized from banking institutions. That's never happened to me, which is why I might be a bit naive to this, but I also don't trust myself, So I'm curious to get your take when you're having conversations with people about Xapo who say, well, no, not your keys, not your coins. What's sort of your take?
Self-custody can be a great way to secure your Bitcoin if you really know what you're doing. I would just mention that statistically speaking, most Bitcoins have been lost because of mistakes with self-custody operations rather than hacks on exchanges. And that's like what statistics is showing. People really must know what they're doing with their Bitcoins when they decide to use self-custody. I don't have Personally, I don't have anything against self-custody as far as you know how to manage it, because with the self-custody, like there are some very serious risks like for example, you're the single point of failure. So if you make something wrong, your Bitcoins will be lost like forever. And then when you have a centralized custodian, trusted one like Xapo Bank, then you first of all you know that we're taking care of your Bitcoins. We're never lending your Bitcoins. Your Bitcoins can work for you. You can always use your Bitcoin to pay with the Lightning Network. You can always borrow against your Bitcoin without the need to sell your Bitcoin. You can also exchange it with one of the best exchange rates. But most importantly, you can ensure your hires will receive your Bitcoin and your wealth if suddenly you're gone. This cannot happen with self-custody, or if can happen with self-custody, then you have to educate them how to use the cold wallet, which or the self-custodian wallet, which it's a challenge. Like from our experience, is a challenge. And then I know we have other topics, but that's very important. What I'm seeing, if like a customer has 10, like the value of Bitcoin is $10, $100, $1,000, even $10,000. Usually people are very like confident, self-confident, and they tend to say, "I trust myself with the money." But then what's happening, and I'm seeing this, once you have $100,000 in Bitcoin, 1 million, 10 million, then you start thinking differently. Like, what's going to happen if I make one single mistake? I'm going to lose $1 million. Do I really trust myself? So usually the proponents of self-custody are users with low amount of Bitcoin, but once they hit 6 figures or even 7 figures, they really start thinking about their generational wealth, about how protected their wealth, Bitcoin wealth is. So it's very interesting. I think it's even psychological phenomenon that we are observing right now.
That makes a lot of sense. You touched on something that we also discussed the last time you were on the show about the other offering that Xapo has with, setting up your heirs for inheritance purposes so that, the Bitcoin can be passed down on someone's death, which is a great feature to be able to offer people, because like you say, if the heirs and family members haven't been educated properly, then that Bitcoin is lost if it's not handled. It really does seem like Xapo is really kind of consider like building this bank around sort of services that benefit members and listening to what people have asked for. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, why I personally really want to work for Xapo forever is because it's not about the Bitcoin price. It's about how we are ensuring that the Satoshi vision, that Bitcoin will be used for international payments, will become a reality. And we are building a product focusing on Bitcoin, but not for short-term holders, but for people who really want to keep their Bitcoin forever and they want to make their Bitcoin work for them. So there are only a few companies that are doing right now. So it's all about ensuring that the Bitcoin adoption will skyrocket and the Bitcoin will succeed. So it's quite interesting place to be.
Exciting. And I do think we touched on this before, but your role as, is it product manager? Is that the correct?
Yeah, right now I'm a product manager. Exactly.
What does that mean exactly? So the product, for example, the heirs, that offering, that would be the product, and you help to manage or facilitate or develop that. Do you sort of take ideas that people have and help implement them? Sounds like a pretty cool position.
Actually, the role is quite simple. We are listening what our Bitcoin customers or members are requesting, and then we just ensure it's going to be delivered in a very nice and seamless way in our app. So if I can summarize with one sentence, is just speaking to customers and understand what they really need. And whatever we build it under the Satoshi vision that Bitcoin is going to be the ultimate form of money. So,
excellent. Thank you for sharing some of that. Why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, we will dive into some of the Bitcoin news headlines from today, and we'll get Anton's take on those stories too. We'll be right back.
Security matters. Xapo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at xapobank.com.
Welcome back. This is the top Bitcoin story making waves today. It is top of the block.
Okay.
Bitcoin's supply dynamics are shifting in a big way. New data from Glassnode shows that Bitcoin's illiquid supply has climbed to an all-time high, surpassing 14.3 million coins. Illiquid supply refers to Bitcoin held by investors with little or no history of selling. These are long-term holders and cold storage accounts that keep coins off the market. Out of the 19.9 million Bitcoin currently in circulation, about 72% is now considered illiquid. That means nearly 3/4 of all Bitcoin is being held tightly, unavailable for regular trading. This milestone comes even as the market has seen a pullback. In mid-August, Bitcoin hit a record price of $124,000 before dropping roughly 15%. Despite that decline, illiquid holdings continue to rise. Over the past month alone, this category grew by another 20,000 coins. Analysts say the trend shows strong conviction among long-term investors. Rather than selling during volatility, they are steadily accumulating. This reduces the amount of Bitcoin available on the open market. If the pattern continues, supply could tighten further, setting the stage for future momentum once market sentiment improves. For now, the record level of illiquid Bitcoin highlights growing confidence in the asset as a long-term store of value, even in the face of short-term swings. Okay, Anton, what do you make of that story? Did that come as a surprise to you, or does that make sense? You know, we were just talking about people wanting to hold onto their Bitcoin because they know what a great investment it is. Following on from that, that would make absolute sense that more and more people are holding onto it. What's your take?
It makes a total sense. Like people are realizing that Bitcoin is increasing on average, like the price is appreciating on average with 40% every year. And even if we consider the diminishing return pattern, which is happening, even if the Bitcoin increases like 20% every year, it's still like the best performing asset. And why to sell this asset? So this data makes perfect sense. It's not a surprise by any means, and we're seeing this on the Xapo side. Like our members don't want to sell their Bitcoin, and they're like very reluctant to even consider selling their Bitcoin when they need cash. What is also right now making the overall situation very interesting is the ETFs that are heavily buying Bitcoin right now. I think last week we had a net inflows of over like $250 million, $250-something million dollars. Then you have also a rush from Bitcoin treasury companies that are acquiring Bitcoin at like a maximum capacity, as much as they can borrow, as much fiat as they can borrow. They're eagerly buying Bitcoin with it, and the people are seeing this, and like it's very normal for them to decide to not sell it, even like not even consider selling. That's why the supply is staying illiquid. It makes perfect sense. I think this trend will only accelerate from here, and what's going to be the exciting part is the Bitcoin price, because like the current price is equilibrium between supply and demand, and once like the supply it's like becoming lower and lower, the price can go only up, which is great for everyone investing, holding, or just believing in Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's interesting because that seems like a pattern that is definitely that's the direction that things are moving in. And a lot of people, and I feel like at Xapo Bank too, Satoshi Nakamoto's vision of this being like a peer-to-peer, a payment method, with everybody holding on to their Bitcoin because it's such a great investment, it kind of it gets in the way a little bit of people being able to use it to spend. But then the way I kind of look at Xapo is you're offering products that still allow people to access, to kind of keep the Bitcoin, but then also use it. I think it's quite clever and very forward thinking with the way things are moving. Now, Xapo is one bank that does it. I'm sure other institutions do, but I guess the question is how, if everybody's holding the Bitcoin, how is it going to be able to be used for payments if people are just saving it? Or is inevitably people going to have to use banks like Xapo if they want to? Yeah.
So it really depends on the use case. You have overall, the Bitcoin is supposed to be used for payments. That's why the Bitcoin was created at first place. It was like, it's great that at the moment people are considering Bitcoin as a digital gold, and they're like planning to never sell their Bitcoin. That's completely fine. But at first place, the Bitcoin was created because it was supposed to be used for peer-to-peer transactions. But it doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin is not going to be used for peer-to-peer transactions. That's what we're doing right now. We're ensuring that international fiat stablecoin or crypto transactions can be settled on top of Bitcoin. And let me give you an example. You want to send Mexican pesos from Mexico to, let's say, United States, or vice versa, doesn't really matter. If you use like traditional fiat rails, it's going to take you hours, in some cases even 2 days, and you're going to pay approximately 2% fees for your transaction. And then if you use Bitcoin, the transaction will settle instantly through Lightning Network. You're going to pay approximately 1 cent, and it's going to work 24/7, literally like instant international transactions. And this can settle on top of Bitcoin, and maybe the end user may not even understand that they're using Bitcoin. For them, it's all about convenience. Like they press the button, funds are sent to other country, and then like the recipient is just able to use the money at the moment when the transaction is initiated. Like it's the same like if I give you another example, it's the same like having the internet without the browser. Like when you open the browser, you actually don't know how the internet is working. You just press the button, you open the website, or you just press the button, you watch RoxomTV. But you don't know what's happening behind the scene. It's going to be exactly the same with the international transactions and how Bitcoin can be used for payments. We're a bit early, but we are building right now the infrastructure for this to happen, and I believe it will happen in the next few quarters. We are going to have more and more people using Bitcoin to settle international transactions. And this can be fiat, it can be stable coins, it can be pretty much everything. And that's where Satoshi Vision will become a reality.
Excellent. Thank you for breaking that down. I see it moving in that direction too, definitely. Okay, moving on to our next story. Let's dive into some of the headlines making waves around the world. This is the Global Gist. El Salvador is marking the 4th anniversary of its bold Bitcoin experiment. Back in September 2021, the country became the first in the world to make Bitcoin legal tender. This year, the government's Bitcoin office celebrated Bitcoin Day with new milestones. Officials highlighted a national Bitcoin reserve of more than 6,300 coins, worth over $700 million. They also pointed to a new banking law that allows Bitcoin investment banks to serve sophisticated investors. The office says 80,000 public servants have now completed Bitcoin certification programs, with several public education initiatives underway in both Bitcoin and artificial intelligence. But 4 years on, the results remain mixed. Earlier this year, El Salvador repealed its Bitcoin legal tender law and agreed to stop purchasing Bitcoin with public funds. That move was part of a $1.4 billion loan deal with the International Monetary Fund. Since signing the agreement, the government has not added to its Bitcoin holdings. Support for the state-run Chivo wallet has also been scaled back after limited use by everyday citizens. Critics argue that El Salvador's Bitcoin policies have mostly benefited the government and large corporations, while ordinary residents see little impact. Advocates, however, say expanded education programs could still drive broader adoption in the years ahead. Okay, Anton, I have a few questions for you about this. Firstly, when you first heard about El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, like what thoughts kind of went through your mind when that was announced and as that has developed?
This was one of the first signs that Bitcoin will succeed, because like having a country adopting Bitcoin for payments, this was unthinkable before El Salvador. And it was one of those moments when I thought, okay, like Bitcoin is here, it's already changing the world, and now I'm more confident than ever that Bitcoin will succeed. I understand some critics saying that the average El Salvadorian, they were not really using Bitcoin for payments. I think they were super early when they built this. It was really really early. The overall infrastructure for Lightning payments, because that's how that's the network which their local Chivo wallet was using. Like the success rate of the transactions, it wasn't as great as it is today, because right now we have like very large infrastructure companies that are just ensuring Lightning Network liquidity and transaction will be processed. Back then, we had some cases where the transactions actually failed because of the Lightning Network being still relatively a new concept. And I understand this point, but I want to give you a different perspective, because what happened with El Salvador after they implemented Bitcoin as a legal tender? First, like the tourism skyrocketed. El Salvador is considered right now as a Bitcoin capital of the world. They built amazing project for Bitcoin City, which even boosted the popularity of this country. And most importantly, they managed to attract some extremely profitable companies to relocate their headquarters there. And the most obvious example is Tether. They are like the most profitable company in the world in terms of revenue versus number of employees. And right now their headquarters is in El Salvador. So overall for the country, I believe this was a huge success, because the benefits are still there. Like you see more and more people being interested to go to El Salvador. Even some of them relocate, like digital nomads or Bitcoin maxis, because in El Salvador right now it's very easy to live on top of the Bitcoin standard. So I think the benefits are much more than potential. Like
yeah. And how do you feel about what happened with the IMF? It's no longer legal tender in that. I think what that means is you're not forced. Businesses don't have to accept Bitcoin. Most of them they can, and most of them, well, not most of them, but some businesses still do. What do you think the impacts of that wind back have been, if any? Because I think some people don't even know that has happened. It's still kind of known as like you say, the Bitcoin capital. What do you make of that rollback?
No, what's happening right now with the IMF reminds me to what was happening in the United States in 2022 when Operation Choke Point 2.0 was launched, and they really attacked regulated financial institutions that were offering services to crypto companies. This was mainly because the government didn't really understand the value and the problems that the Bitcoin is solving. And I think IMF, as an independent institution right now, they're pretty much where the US government was 3 years ago. But see where we are now. You have a pro-Bitcoin president. You have a crypto bill which passed. You have a stablecoin legalization right now. So 3 years ago, this was unthinkable. But see how quickly everything changed. IMF is just moving slow in terms of understanding what Bitcoin is. I also understand the perspective from IMF that this is actually threatening their existence, because Bitcoin is decentralized. It's there is no government on top of Bitcoin. It is just giving freedom to everyone who wants to transact. And if this can happen, then why IMF has to exist at first place. So it's happening slowly, but definitely it will happen. And at some point they will realize they were making a mistake with El Salvador. But because El Salvador was really like the first country, it's just taking some learnings for everyone before they can fully comprehend what Bitcoin is about. Regarding your point for the legal tender, that's exactly correct. Like if you have a business in El Salvador, you're not forced anymore to accept Bitcoin, but I believe they will accept Bitcoin first because there is so many tourists going to the country, and second because using Bitcoin is just cheaper. Because imagine if you're using a card and you want to pay with for your groceries, the merchant is going to be charged 0.5% for this transaction. And then if you accept Bitcoin through Lightning Network, you're going to be charged exactly 0% for this transaction. So actually, accepting Bitcoin is not only in the interest of the buyer, but also in the interest of the merchant. And that's what I believe is going to happen. Like everyone will be incentivized to keep accepting Bitcoin.
Yeah. You made some really great points there about the development with where the US was 3 years ago to where it is now with Trump's views and how everything has been shifting towards a more positive stance or a take of Bitcoin, and the IMF will likely follow suit, like a lot of governments and institutions have done over the last not even year really. It was a really interesting point you made about the IMF if Bitcoin is fully embraced and adopted, then it kind of leaves them a little bit obsolete. How do you think they'll manage that? Because you were mentioning it's a matter of having a better understanding, a bit more education around Bitcoin. But if it is going to, put them out of a job, as it were, will they be more friendly? Will they, it'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, it's a game of probabilities. I'm seeing something similar happening in Europe from European Central Bank. They are publishing papers explaining how Bitcoin is bad and how it can harm everyone using Bitcoin. But it's mainly because it's kind of diminishing the purpose of having a digital euro here in Europe. So for ECB, Bitcoin is a threat to their plans to introduce a digital euro. What's happening? It's all about the adoption. That's why I'm really hyped to work on initiatives that are going to increase the Bitcoin adoption. Because once you have a lot of people using Bitcoin, it makes it doesn't matter if you are concerned being IMF or being a regulated financial institution. If people use Bitcoin, Bitcoin will be there and it will be used, and you cannot stop it because it's decentralized. You cannot simply ban Bitcoin. That's a great example from China. The Bitcoin is banned there, and people are still using Bitcoin. Even there are even some of the largest exchanges operating legally in China. So it's all about the adoption and how quickly we can ensure people around the world can interact with Bitcoin one way or another. And that's also our previous discussion, that you may interact with Bitcoin without even knowing that you're interacting with Bitcoin for transactions. So it will happen, and it's all about the infrastructure which currently is being built by Xapo and also from many other Bitcoin infrastructure companies.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Excellent. Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I think we'll have time for a couple more stories with you. So we'll be right back.
Security matters. Xapo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at xapobank.com.
Welcome back, everyone. For our next story, Justin Sun, one of the biggest backers of President Donald Trump's crypto venture, says his tokens have been frozen. On Friday, Sun revealed that his holdings in World Liberty Financial, known by the ticker WLFI, were unreasonably frozen. He gave no details on how many tokens were affected or who was behind the freeze. Sun is a high-profile crypto entrepreneur, best known for founding TRON. He has spent at least $75 million on World Liberty tokens, making him the second largest known investor in the project. Blockchain data suggests a wallet linked to Sun, holding more than 545 million tokens, was blacklisted last week. That means the assets cannot be transferred. World Liberty Financial later issued a statement saying it does not seek to blacklist anyone, but will act if it detects activity it views as risky for the community. Despite the freeze, Sun has signaled he intends to double down. He announced plans to buy $10 million more in WLFI tokens, as well as $10 million in a US stock that invests in the project. The World Liberty venture has strong ties to the Trump family. Eric Trump has appeared alongside Sun at international crypto events, and the Trump stake in the company has already generated hundreds of millions in token sales. Okay, Anton, what do you think of Sun's tokens being frozen? I'm very confused as to how and why this has happened. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a super spicy situation, very different from what we have been seeing recently. I think there is a lot of that happening behind the cameras, and we're not having the full story because everyone is playing their own game. I saw Justin Sun with some Twitter or X posts trying to attack the World Liberty, but I also understand that on their side there is something else which is happening. There are two very important points here. The first one is about, and that's like a broader debate right now that's happening about the decentralization and in general the governance on those decentralized projects, because when you build a decentralized project, it's supposed to be decentralized. At the end, you should not have a single person deciding you can use your tokens or you cannot use your tokens. So that's against the principles of the project. On the other hand side, there are some rumors, and again, those are rumors that actually he was preparing to sell his tokens, and supposedly he was he had signed agreement that he's not going to do it because his holdings are huge and he's going to crash the price. But data intelligence platforms and on-chain transactions actually are showing some movements to exchanges, which clearly is indicating his intention to sell. Because what's the point to move your tokens on the exchange if you don't intend to sell it? So I think there is a lot of that's happening right now. Most probably, the most probable theory is that because he was preparing to sell, actually they decided to block him and take some actions before he surpassed the price. And now what's happening? He's trying to push back, trying to play the nice guy, explain that he wants to double down and buy more. But for me personally, the most interesting part is about the debate of decentralized projects and the governance, and should we have a person to simply decide to block another token owner? Let's just make a comparison with Bitcoin. Like with Bitcoin, that's completely impossible to happen. No one can freeze your Bitcoin. It's impossible. Even if someone freeze your Bitcoin, you always have the alternative to use your self-custody wallet or just different centralized trusted provider. But when you have a centralized, in this case, centralized issuer like World Liberty Financial, that's possible. And is it right? Yeah. I cannot take side here.
Yes, thank you for breaking that down. I wasn't quite aware of all of the backstory, but it's a fascinating. There's lots of games being played. It was interesting because I would not consider this a decentralized asset in any way, really. Do you happen to know if it is marketed as such? If it acts as if it is World Liberty Financial? These tokens, are they claiming to be decentralized? Do you happen to know that?
Yeah, that's a valid point. But let's say you're buying a financial asset that you're supposed to own. In this case, you're buying their tokens. It's the same. I mean, let's say it's similar to buying Apple stock. Like you invest in Apple, it's your decision at the end if you want to keep it or sell it. They cannot just say, Apple cannot knock on your door and say, hey, I know you bought Apple stock for 1 million, but I blacklist you, you're not going to sell it. That's not how it's working. That's not how markets have been designed. You should not have a decentralized entity forcing you to not do whatever you want with your asset. And then it's another story if you signed some agreements to not sell it and you decided to sell it. But that's definitely not. Probably it's not the right approach. Is this advertised as a decentralized? I'm not 100% sure. But what I'm sure is that when you buy an asset, at the end it's your decision if you want to keep it or sell it.
Got it. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. On that topic of freezing assets, and you had talked about with Bitcoin, we covered some stories not too long ago about the main exchanges banding together where they think that fraud is happening, freezing certain transactions for certain wallets that run through their exchanges in order to kind of put a block on some fraud and scams and money being stolen, which is a good thing for people who have had their funds stolen, but it does beg the question of like, okay, so people can freeze your transactions. These are the exchanges, but to your point about if you have the self-custody, you can still, nobody can freeze your wallet if you wanted to send your Bitcoin to somebody else. And I'm curious what with Xapo, what are the kind of rules about like that? Can people's banks be frozen?
So Xapo was established 2013. So far, we have exactly 0 cases where any Bitcoin holdings were frozen because, in order to have a Xapo Bank account, there are some KYC checks that needs to happen in order to be onboarded as a Xapo Bank member. Even though it's just literally taking less than 10 clicks, it's still like there are some KYC checks running in the background. And all of our members are actually trustworthy, and that's the reason why we had exactly 0. Let me repeat, 0 cases when we had to block some Bitcoin holdings. Can this happen? Theoretically speaking, if you receive a deposit from Iran, or let's say that's not the ideal example, but from a terrorist organization, let's say, this particular Bitcoin amount, you may be asked some questions, and if you are not able to answer them, the amount may be blocked. But are we going to block your other Bitcoin holdings or other wealth? Not necessarily. So it's about the type of deposits you receive to your Xapo Bank account. But yeah, again, so far we had exactly 0 cases like this.
Interesting. Thank you for explaining that. Anton, this is another great conversation. I learned so much from speaking about you. I'm more kind of, a proponent of Xapo and think it's offering some great products to people. Thank you again for joining me. I hope we get to speak to you again soon. Where can people follow you or find out more about you? Are you on X?
I'm on Twitter. You can find me there, or you can just follow Xapo Bank on Twitter or other social media. I'm generally speaking, I am appearing there with the different interviews. So mainly on Twitter, but also LinkedIn is available to everyone.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be joined by another guest, Tony from the Bitcoin Way. We'll see you after this break.